What is up, everybody? Tim Warlow from Countdown Realty team. We're out at the North 40, which is a property my client just acquired back in May, and we started working on it. What I wanted to do was run you through some of the numbers on what made this a really good acquisition for him, the vision for what we're gonna do with this property, and show you what we've already done in some of the buildings. Now, this is gonna be a little bit more casual, just gonna follow me around, we'll talk about some things, and I'll introduce you to some concepts in commercial real estate that may help you make a better decision in your investment. So back in January, I started talking to the owner of this property about selling. She was ready to sell, she's owned it for a long time. She put all of these buildings on this property over the course of about 20 years. They're all they were freestanding houses that she had moved here and started renting them out as commercial property. Now what you have is in the back there's a warehouse where there's a roofing company. There's over this way you have like a painting and remodeling company, and then the big red barn has been a couple different things over time. There was going to be a yoga studio, there was all kinds of things, but it needed a lot of repair. We were able to get her to expand the 3.5 acres to over 6 acres total. There's a car coming, so we'll get out of their way. But we were able to get a total of 6 acres. It's got a well, a couple septics on it, and extend the property line back in case we wanted to expand. But essentially when we bought it, the property was distressed. It was not fully occupied. It was probably around 50% occupied, which when you're buying commercial property is actually a pretty good thing if you have time to wait to bring that cash flow up. The way that commercial property is purchased is off of a cap rate. If it's occupied, there is income on that property. You take the expenses out of that, like your taxes and if you're paying utilities, and then you figure out your net cash flow, and then you divide that by what the purchase price of the property was. So when we bought this, the cash flow was somewhere around $10,000 a month and got it for $1.2 million. So that gives us pretty close to a 9% cap rate, which is well below the market average. Over the last couple of years, cap rates have come down a lot. We're probably somewhere around 5-6% for retail property. Apartment complexes are even lower, like 4%. So 9% is a great return on investment just off the bat. But what we saw is a ton of opportunity. There's over 10,000 square feet here. There's a 5,000 square foot warehouse. Each of these buildings is around 2,000 square feet. This one here is 4,000 square feet. So just an absolute massive amount of opportunity. And then when we purchased it, these were actually residences. And the idea is to turn those into commercial property as well, because commercial can rent for hire. And then the other part is you have, my favorite part of commercial real estate is called triple net. So you can charge a lease rate, a base rate, and then you can have the tenant pay your taxes, your insurance, and utilities, and even maintenance on top of that. So when you use triple net leases, you maximize the cash flow and the value of that property. Let me show you what's going on in this one first, because we've already renovated it and it's probably the most ready to be leased out. Originally there was a photography studio in here and it was kind of set up funky. It's about 2,000 square feet. And we just finished painting, added another office space in here to create a little more seclusion. So what's really popular right now, and especially in this kind of setup, is renting out smaller offices or even rooms to different people who maybe just need, one executive office and a reception area. Maybe they don't have a lot of traffic, they are property management, they do real estate services or contracting services, and they don't need employees in and out. We can actually, because we have two entrances here, we can have one side as one business and the other side as another and charge a little bit more per room than we would get for the whole building. So coming into here, we added this wall and door to separate off one more unit. This used to be a photography studio, so we could still rent it out as a photography studio. Somebody who wanted some private conference room could use this. Really nice big size room. I mean, we have 12, 13-foot ceilings throughout the whole building. These big old windows that we kept original, hardwood floors. So they're cool, they're unique. Not gonna have a high traffic business in here, probably a couple of office suites would make a really good real estate office, things like that. But a lot of the buildings that are on this property are similar. They were houses that have been set up as office spaces, which people find really, charming, really unique. But it means that we have to do a lot of maintenance. So we had to get this one, fully ready to lease. It just was not in that condition. So we spent about $10,000 on this building, getting it into this condition. And now I think it would rent for somewhere around $2,200 to $2,500 a month as an office space. And if we subdivided it and had 2 tenants, we could probably get a little bit more than that. So we've really added value, and we'll get a good return on investment on that in a very short amount of time. Now, when you do that, we bought this and it was not occupied. There's no cash flow, there's no return on this building. Now, all of a sudden, what was $10,000 goes up to $12,500. So our cap rate, if it even stayed the same, the value would jump up that same amount. So it would go 1.2 at 9%. We had $10,000 a month in cash flow. Now at 9% cap rate with $12,000 a month in cash flow, that value goes up to 1.3, 1.4. So just adding $2,500 a month in cash flow to the building adds $100,000 in value to the property. So we'll keep walking around. I'll show you a couple more cool spots. Okay, so one of the other things you're gonna look for when you're buying commercial property is the length of the leases. So when we bought this, everybody who was here, aside from the residential rentals who were on month to month, still had 1 to 2 years on their term. Now that's really beneficial when you're trying to add value, because you're gonna have income coming in for the next 2 years. That's pretty stable. The rents, however, were 75% or even more below the market rent for the area. So if people want to renew their leases here, we can actually just raise them to near the market value and when they renew their leases next year, and that will add additional income to the property. So pretty simple. If there's 5 people here and they're all paying 25% below market value, we raise the rent 25% just to get it up to the market value, or even give them a little discount, and the value of the property goes up the same amount. So you have a really easy way to add value to a property just by the tenant base that's already there. Now this is interesting. So this is the entrance to what was gonna be the yoga studio. It is a cool property. There's a massage that was gonna go in the back. Now they're gonna move to one of the residential units. And this space, we still wanna do maybe a yoga studio, find somebody who wants to operate a hair salon even, or some kind of retail space. So come on in. So when we bought this property, there was a contractor already working in here. And for whatever reason, it was taking him 6 months to do what should have taken somewhere around like 2 months to complete. So I did let him go, and we are bringing in our own contractor. But we were able to negotiate for the materials that she had already purchased to be thrown in so that we could finish the job in a timely manner. We started on some other units because it made more sense. But when this one is complete, this should rent for another probably $1,700 to $2,000 per month. It's got this nice big area, which is getting expanded out to add more square footage. And then there's another 2 offices in the back as well. It's going to be a really beautiful building. Again, the high ceilings make it really unique. It's a cool space to be, and there's going to be a lot of natural light, all that stuff. So I think a yoga studio, a hair salon, something like that would work really well in here. And then the idea is, right now we have a lot of office space. If we can start bringing a little more retail into the complex, retail generates more income than office does typically for commercial. So if we can get more traffic out to the property, we can actually start opening up more retail shops. So, something like a boutique or a studio, something where people are going to be coming in and out every day, is going to drive more traffic and allow us to, again, increase the value of the property. I don't think the lights are going to turn on. So now we're into probably one of the later stages of what we're going to do for the development, because this room is going to take more work than anything else. There's a good 2,000 square feet of space like this that's going to need to be renovated. And one of the concepts we had, which would be a great retail spot, something I am really passionate about as a musician, we could actually turn this room into a guitar shop and then put a studio in the back. So the space is set up really well for that. The lights aren't on right now, so I can't, maybe I can show you that. It'll just look like the Blair Witch Project. But there's a couple rooms over here, a room back there that's like got a loading dock. And we could put in a small recording studio, podcast studio, and then actually turn this into a retail shop for, you know, guitars, musical instruments, make it something worth driving out for. The other thing when we first bought this property was we saw this over here as a really cool opportunity to change from residential to something more like, the idea was maybe a distillery, a coffee shop, restaurant, something like that, where we could combine this whole building back together and have like a bar, expand this patio out into the parking area. This is just really cool. I don't know what this grain silo is doing here. Never had any function, but I thought it was really cool and would make a really good you know, entry for a restaurant or a coffee shop. I'll show you these units as well. When I was growing up, I drove by this place every day on the way to Boerne from Southern Oaks, and I always wondered what it was. I don't think anybody really knows. The more I talk about this property, nobody really knows what this whole complex was, and I think it's really unique. Oh, it's nice and cool in here. And you can use it for kind of a mixed use development. So it's set up as an apartment. We could turn it back into an executive office. We could rearrange the kitchen to another spot or turn this into like a cafe and then have just the deck space out there. Just a nice place to get away to work. It was rented out. It was rented for something like, you know, $750 a month, which is a great deal in Boerne. And at this point, we're probably gonna have the massage open up in the one next door, convert that into commercial space. So the more we change the residential into commercial space, it makes the whole complex make sense. You know why you're coming out here. It's not like two people just live out here and sit on their front porch, drink beer, which is what it was before, which is kind of weird for a retail space to see people living on site. So really make the whole thing homogeneous, make it make sense from a conceptual perspective. And then again, changing residential to commercial is gonna add value to the total property. So the other unit is actually connected by the porch, which is a nice setup if you had a restaurant out here and you wanted to do service on the patio. As you can see, the people who lived here before kind of left it in disarray. There's trash, there's stuff, and we're cleaning that up this weekend to get ready to lease this to massage for now. The great part about this property is that there are so many spaces. We can kind of pick and choose which one we want people to take to fulfill that lease occupancy, and we can kind of move the concept as we go. We want to partner with people in the community. Oh, you know where all the lights are? They're in this room for some reason. There's a bunch of weird things about these buildings, but I really like the flexibility of being able to meet somebody from the community who has a great business idea and they want to open up, let's say a retail shop, a gemstone shop, something, whatever they're passionate about. We can find a way to make it work. At first, you know, the photography studio was going to be massage. She decided that spot wouldn't work for her, so we have this available. And it's pretty much move-in ready. We got our cleaning crew out here. It smells really good in here. It's got its own patio. It'll have, you know, the kitchen set up and 3 rooms. So ton of flexibility with the concept, but we know whatever we are doing here is going to add value for the long term, and it's going to add value to the community by creating more cohesiveness within the commercial space. I am really passionate personally about commercial development for that exact reason. I love small businesses. I love seeing people build something and be passionate about it that is gonna grow, and to be able to make space for those people to express their ideas through business is super important to me. So whether it's a local person wanting to start a yoga studio, massage, whatever, we're here to help them move that business forward by giving them the space to do it, by giving them the marketing, by making this place feel like a place consumers want to go to. Okay, so we talked a little bit about how to find commercial property that has value. different ways to add value to those. We talked about triple net leases and cap rates. So if you have any questions about how to purchase, how to run numbers on a commercial property to see if it makes sense as an investment, give me a shout. I'm happy to look over it for you and help you come up with a strategy that'll make sense. I'm personally super excited about this property. Getting to be a part of seeing it reimagined and redeveloped is really exciting for me. So I love being a part of that in Boerne and seeing that come to life. Give me a call if you need anything. Thanks for watching the video, and make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already.